What are you talking about? How's everybody doing? Yeah. Book. What was the final verdict on that? Did you turn in your book? Yeah, and then I did I message you back? What else? What? Yeah, did you send it to me in an email? In the email or on Canvas? Oh, okay. All right. I will look at that. That is true. That is true. Yeah, I will look at it. I can't promise that it'll be on this report card or whatever you guys get. But I will apply it so at least on your final grade it will show, you know. Mr. Brunette said there's a small window of time this morning for teachers that didn't put in grades last night or messed up grades last night to do it. So if I can do it, I will, but if not, I can't. All right, good morning, Zoom. Share this screen real quick. And we'll get started. As soon as you log into that Pear Deck, you can go ahead and start on the warm-up question, excuse me. Oh. Aiden, Austin, Jayla, Mason, I think was the other one. I know you guys just got here. As the shared screen says, we're doing a Parrot Act. So as soon as you get on there, you can start answering that question. Or those questions, rather. Taylor, welcome. We're doing a Parrot Act today. The code is on the screen there. It's 26. All right, if we're getting on here, just speaking to people on Zoom right now. If we're getting on here, make sure to write something. I go through here, and if you respond to each prompt, you get 10 points. If you don't, then you don't. So there is 0 points in logging on to the Zoom or to this if you're not going to do it. Because, I mean, if you log on to this and don't do the prompts, you're getting a 0 for 10. So there's really no point. So if you're going to be that, I can see the names at the bottom. I will be calling people out, which is my favorite thing to do. So, you know, it's up to you, but you might as well write something. Thank you. If you don't remember, that's fine. We're about to go over. All right, so let's talk about them a little bit. How are imperialism and industrial revolution connected, Tariq? How do you think they're connected? Okay. Does anybody want to save Tariq? Anybody? How are these two things connected? What is imperialism? What we learned yesterday? Yeah. The empire there, creating empires. What does that mean? You see Star Wars? Never watched Star Wars. Who's seen Star Wars? What's the empire in Star Wars? There's the bad guys. Yeah. What do? They want to rule. Yeah. Who do they want to rule? Over everybody. Specifically, what people? Or not even people, but what groups? So who's the empire? Are they strong or weak? Strong. Who they want to rule over? The rebellion. Yeah, the rebellion's kind of a response to them, but they want to rule over the weak people, right? If you have power over somebody, you want to rule over them. That's imperialism. That's an empire. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, yeah. For sure, that stuff. Yeah, yeah. To gain power through those means, because that results in money, that results in power, that results in influence, and these things still are going on right now today. So let me look through. Man, some people's answers I can't share, but they're hilarious. All right. Beautiful, Lana. Yeah, Lana, you know. All right. There's other good answers, but this is a simple one. So we'll start with number two. The six motivations for that imperialism, for creating an empire, are exploratory. People want to explore. Not everybody, some people. Militarily, people want to militarily hold power over other people. It equates to power throughout the world. Whoever has the biggest army is the most powerful country. That has lasted to this day, or really the entire time of history. Politically, ideologically, religiously, those two, ideology and religious, oftentimes go together. And then economics, the thing that makes the world go around, money. So spell those out into empire, and you get all the motivations, all the reasons, in other words, that anybody would want to imperialize or create an empire. So this answer right here is, and this answer, the top ones here, both very good. Imperialism and industrial revolution are connected because they both want to rule over people and create an empire. And then to take it a step further, the more a nation grew in their technology through the evolution, they had more of a leg up on other opposing nations. That is perfect. Whoever did the best in industrialization are the ones that are the most powerful during imperialization. So that is what I'm looking for in that answer. Very good. All right, so today we're talking again about the motivations for imperialism. This time, though, yesterday was the consequences of the European imperialism today, or yesterday was the causes, excuse me. Today is the consequences. We're going to look at a few different images, a few different advertisements, and cartoons, and things from the period. And you can use those motivations to label why they're happening, what motivations these people had to create an empire. So quick announcements. Intros are due today. They're originally due yesterday, but they're going on this 9 weeks, and yeah, so it's very easy intros, by the way. I didn't make them, so they're very they're pretty easy. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I did get a couple messages about books last night. I've talked with a couple people that applies to, so if I've talked to you, ignore what I'm saying for the time being. But for those of you who wanted to turn it in late or at 4 p.m. or later were messaging me about it, it's tough for me to accept any late work, considering it was originally due last Thursday, Thursday night. We had 3 days of class time to work on it, so it makes me wonder what you were doing in those 3 days of class time. And I also pushed the date back to Sunday, making me more resistant to accept late work. So I will look at it. You can talk to me about it, but I don't really feel too motivated about accepting those books at this point. All right, so getting started here. What does this image show? What I want you to do is I want you to choose any color you want. And this is a little bit of a geography lesson. This isn't a geography class, so if you don't know, it's fine. But this map shows imperialism. This map shows the lay of the land, if you want to call it that, in the 1800s, of people or empires creating, starting in one place and then spreading to others. So what I want you to do is I want you to make a mark in one color for Great Britain, put a mark where Great Britain is. You can do red or blue or any little color your heart desires. And I want you to choose a different color. I want you to mark France, their original location, not where they've conquered. Make a different colored mark for Germany. And then one for, what do we leave out? Let's do Belgium as well. And you're going to see a pattern of where all these marks should be centralized at. Oof, I'm glad this isn't geography class. All right. I'm glad I brought this up. I think sometimes I assume a little bit too much. All right, Lana. Yeah, there you go. All right, I'm just gonna show you on this screen. So, you're Belgium right up here, this dark purple little dot right here. Great Britain right up here. France right here. And what was the other one I said? Germany, this orange blob right here. So, what's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with the fact that Great Britain's up here? I wish I could make a mark myself. I don't think I can. On Zoom I can, but what's wrong with the fact that Great Britain is up here and that they own land here and here and here and here and down here and through here? And France, all this and that. Your desk score? Oh no.
So
We'll have to sit on the floor.
you're saying I have to go like that's
Eston?
yeah, because you've got like 45 desks and you have like 8 kids. None of the
Even,
seniors aren't coming back. All the other kids are.
what do you mean, seniors?
Like they're just deciding that they don't want to go back to school.
All the seniors?
Most of them.
Right, yeah,
Because I mean, they know what school's like. The freshmen and sophomore, they didn't get much school, you know?
yeah.
And a lot of them have jobs, et cetera. I mean, it kind of makes sense.
All right, so a lot of you guys are on the right track, but some answers I like. Too spread out, especially owning that big land, you would hope to be able to get to places quicker and protect places. Very far away, makes it harder to transport, that's good. These geographical steps that make it harder to access those places isn't close. Yeah, how would you feel if you're from this area or Australia? Well, Australia is a bad example, but Southeast Asia, and all of a sudden this group shows up and is like, oh yeah, by the way, you're British now. You're not even British, you're under our control. What's wrong with this picture is the fact that these tiny little countries with decent population control these huge areas that aren't even close to them for these motivations that we're talking about, for exploratory reasons, especially through Africa, military reasons all over, political reasons all over, ideological, religious, economic for sure all over. There tends to be issues when it comes to that. So speaking of the people whose voices we don't hear from during this period, what can you, on this image, why would anyone want to imperialize? Write your response. What do you think the reasoning would be based on this image? Look at who's in the picture, who's doing what. They all kind of look sad, but I think every picture from the 1800s, people look sad. I don't know what it. something about living during that time that just wasn't, they weren't too psyched about. But who looks the most sad? Use the picture, use evidence. Christian, good. Taylor, Jada, Layla, Xavier, Austin, Nakaya, would love to hear from you.
Which Austin?
Did you respond?
Yes.
And the other one. So, yeah, hold the lands, profit, basically free workers to do it for them, or they're most likely being forced to do it. I think they're definitely being forced to do it. Well, here's the thing: is a lot of these workers lived in rural areas in Africa, and would move to the areas where there were jobs. So last period, this period, I see slaves being mentioned. This is during an era where slavery is beginning to actually end in terms of outright chattel slavery. We're starting to see that shift in ideology and belief. So the reason I brought that up is number one, because I want you to make sure that slavery in your head is going away at this period economically. But the reason I also leave it in is because slavery is a term, as an umbrella term of these people harvesting resources from these people, where they're actually the people from them, the area, is the amount they're paying them is essentially slavery. Not in the literal term, but in terms of like the reality of the situation that the actual workers doing the blue collar, in our terms, work aren't getting paid for it. So the reason this is important, and we'll get into this next week, is how often this still happens today. Maybe not to the huge drop off, or maybe not to the huge example of lack of compensation, lack of payment to people for their work, but these materials are still being extracted in this very area, not the same materials, but different types of materials that we all use every single day, including how we're conducting class today. And the people that are doing the mining and the work aren't getting reciprocated, aren't getting paid for the amount that they're working. So I want you to circle in this image as many consequences of imperialism as you can see, as many results of imperialism that you can tell. What do you see here that says, hey, this is a result of imperialism, of a group of people making an empire over another group of people? Oh, there's no drawing one. Well, what am I talking about? Never mind. All right, so let's just talk about it. I guess I forgot to add a drawing one for that. Yeah, in an ideal world, that's why last class didn't do it. Thanks, Rihanna. Yeah, so we can see the fan here. We can see this dude getting a pedicure here, like him sitting back, towel on, getting fanned off. Obviously, these guys are native to the area that the picture is being taken in. Very big consequence, very big result. This is, I mean, top of the top. I'm sure this guy is some type of British official or official of some kind that is reaping the rewards. And these people, I mean, why would they even be interested in doing this anymore? If we're in our position, it's like, why would you even be in a position to want to give this guy any type of your time or energy? But the reason here is if they're getting paid, or maybe even if they're not getting paid, They have some sort of security. That this is a survival tactic. This is to be able to use their little bit of ability that they have of working in this system to their advantage. So if you're working for this guy, you at least get some sort of benefit of protection, probably a bed, maybe a little bit of payment as well. So we're gonna work through these pictures. I don't know if we'll do all 10. We might. We'll see how active we are and how much I like the answers, but if we can get through them pretty quickly, we should have some extra time at the end of class. So let's go through these. We're going to use that empire motives here once again. So if you weren't here yesterday, that's what we're working over or working through. So each one of these has an exploratory, military, political, one of the 6 that will apply. A lot of them have multiple. So starting with this one. This is, I want to see your answers first. I was going to tell you what it is. A lot of you might know, but what do you think is going on here? Take a look at the picture. Take a look at what's going on. Who is doing what? Who's doing what actions? What is this big chasm here? What of the 6 motivations, E, M, P, I, R, or the second E, do you think are being used here? You have about 20, 30 seconds to respond to each one of these. It's a little dry towards the end, so we'll try and keep it quick today. So for context, this is a diamond mine in, where's that, Algeria? South Africa, excuse me. Diamond mine in South Africa. If that helps you figure out the motivations at all. Mackenzie, good. All right. Economic, absolutely. They are harvesting diamonds from people from an area that they're not from. That's an economic advantage if I've ever seen one. Building up on the natives' land, taking the resources, it looks like. Absolutely, that's what they're doing. Mine is go on, so it's exploratory. I got this a lot last period. I don't know if it's exploratory. Exploratory gets a little bit more towards hey, I'm going through your area to figure out what it looks like, what resources are there, and what I can take advantage of, or maybe just what indigenous peoples I can meet. So I wouldn't necessarily call this exploratory. I would call it economic. And then Tariq, you changed yours. The first one I liked. The second one, which I don't see, which is fine. Yeah. The second one, this ideological and economic. Ideological specifically. Yeah. I mean, who is doing the harvesting? What is going on in the bottom left-hand corner with this worker putting his boot on, excuse me, this like employer, I don't know if you want to call him that, but definitely somebody in charge. Yeah, exactly. He's stepping right on, kicking them, making them do work. Who is actually doing the work of the mines? It's the indigenous people, it's the native people. This guy's standing down there, but he's just watching this guy work. So yeah, absolutely. The people that are actually doing the work are the indigenous people. So that's why ideological is a big part of what's going on here. Europeans treating Africans in this case as less than, as inferior. All right, so this is you might not be able to tell what's going on. So this is a Sunday school class. So which of the 6 motivations do you see in this picture? Oh. Yeah, one's pretty easy. Maybe search for a second one. By the way, if these are ever on a quiz, perhaps, of course, hypothetically, this isn't real. But if these were ever on a quiz, any image I'm going to give you is either going to be really straightforward and like, okay, that's obvious. Or if it's a short answer, it's going to be mainly obvious. But if you put your like, hey, I think this is, for instance, this one, I think this is ideological. Tell me why. If you think it's exploratory, tell me why. I don't see how anybody could think this is exploratory, but if you think that, give me a reason. And obviously it's up to me to determine if that's correct or not. Yeah, ideological and religious to convert people for sure. Ideological and religion a lot of times go together. So religion's easy to see, Christian missionary, doing what he thinks is best in terms of spreading Christianity and values and education. And then ideological, my way of viewing God, my way of worshiping is superior, or at least I think is a better way to worship or approach a spiritual life in this world. So definitely ideological as well. This one is one that we have not touched on yet today. There are arguably two or three, probably 2. But I want to know your interpretation too. If you're saying, hey, I think it's this, I want you to say why. Definitely think about any of the letters we haven't used yet. Jayla, that's good. Which are the motivations? I don't know if you're here yesterday, but Jayla, which one of those motivations would you say that is? Your answer is absolutely correct. EMPIR or E? Good. Give you about 10 more seconds. All right. Yeah. Definitely military, political. They might be training soldiers. I think it's more of a meeting of 2 different groups, not quite training. There's not really a way to tell that in that picture though, so that's fine. But yeah, raising their flag. I got exploratory last class too. I think maybe exploratory. It just depends what this picture is of specifically. So this is Germans taking possession of Cameroon in 1881. Obviously, you didn't know that. If you think this is like the first time the meeting, I could see how you think exploratory. But certainly political. And I would, these little, the labels at the bottom I didn't make. So political, and then you see in the description military presence. So it could be military as well, considering the soldiers here, going back a little bit. And then obviously 2 leaders right here meeting, discussing terms, discussing like, hey, this is Germany now. And these people are like, no, it's not. But yeah, so definitely political. I would say that's number 1. All right, this one is gross, to be honest. I hate this one. So you are gonna draw. There's a motivation that's kind of just over the top in this one. I think most of us will probably see what it is, but I want you to highlight, figure out what motivation it is, and highlight what you think or why you think it's that motivation as I read. All right, so as yet, the Congo Basin is a blank and fruitless waste, a desolate and unproductive area. It has been our purpose to fill this blank with life, to redeem this waste, to plant and sow that the dark man may gather, to vivify the wide land so long forgotten by Europe. But cursed be he or they who, animated by causeless jealousy and a spirit of mischief, will compel us to fire our station, get rid of our station, destroy our work so conspicuously begun, and abandon Africa to its pristine helplessness and savagery. Yeah. So kind of a two-step process. Do what we've been doing, figure out what motivation you think this might be, whether exploratory, military, ideological. And then I want you to highlight why you think it's that. Show me some evidence. There's nowhere to write, obviously, what you think it is. That's fine. But show me the evidence of why you think those things. I would definitely look at Congo is a big part of it because we're talking about the Congo, an area that's still a mess today because of European imperialization. This has lasted literally hundreds of years now. People today are still suffering for these things. We're going to watch a video next week about that. But cursed, jealousy, spirit of mischief, abandon Africa as if it needs their help to begin with. Pristine helplessness and savagery are all things I would definitely think are important here. Oh, there is a way to type. Who did that? Huh. Cool. Yeah, a lot of people, I see a lot of you guys writing it out, which is cool. Thank you. All right, so a lot of you guys are getting this, so I can highlight a lot of answers, but I think this one's really good. Yeah, some of the ones I just said, I think ideological more than any of them. You could argue political, you could argue, he's not really talking about the military here. You could argue economics if you wanted to, because they're building up a system here. But ideological, I mean, think about the language that he's using. This dude's obviously European, I think British. The language he's using to describe not only the land, blank, fruitless waste, desolate, unproductive, but also he's getting at the people here too. Spirit of mischief, helplessness, savagery. Like these are the social Darwinism, the outright racist terms, I mean, in this language are super evident. So ideological, I think more than any of them is going to be the answer. Like I said, that's my least favorite one out of all these. We'll skip this one. I'll just talk through. I mean, these are like African laborers taking ivory. That's what they're holding here. 2 wagons, essentially harvesting the resources. I mean, killing their own animals. Obviously, ivory trade still going strong today, unfortunately, through the black market. But harvesting those resources for other people. So yeah, we're gonna skip that. Sorry, you don't have to type this one, guys. But yeah, economic. Everybody's got this right. If there was a quiz question, I would use a question like that or a picture like this because of how straightforward it is. There's not really a lot of room for interpretation. All right, so this one's pretty straightforward too. What is this? A map of, see the Atlantic Ocean here. And then we see Guinea. A lot of old terms for this, for these areas. But I think a lot of us can probably figure this out. Chris, I'd say it was an E. I wouldn't say it was that E. It could be, it depends why this map was made. I mean, it could be military. But I think it's pretty strongly exploratory. Unexplored lands right here. I mean, there's people that live in these lands. It's not unexplored by any means, but the people making the maps are like, oh, we don't know what's here, so it's unexplored. Yeah, this is, keep in mind that exploratory motivation has to do with mapping and has to do with literally figuring out what people are where, what countries are there, what groups of cultures are there. So I think exploratory is pretty strong here. Like I said, there might be other ones. All right, time-wise, we're getting there. So we'll do maybe one or two more. This one I definitely wanted to touch on because there are a lot of different motivations that this could be. So on the left is an advertisement. That's key to what this could be for Pears soap. And it's referencing the white man's burden, which I alluded to yesterday. I don't know if you guys have talked about this in previous classes. White man's burden was a very, I don't know if it was popular at the time, but it's certainly popular now when you're studying about the time. Talking about that social Darwinist outlook of life, what the white man has to do to help the rest of the world. So I'll read right here is an excerpt of it. Take up the white man's burden, send forth the best ye breed. Go bind your sons to exile, to serve your captors' need. To wait in heavy harness, on fluttered fold and wild, your new caught sullen peoples, half devil and half child. New caught sullen peoples, half devil and half child. What do we think this is? Straight up, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, which one of those is racism? Can you guys still type when I show answers? Or does it show you what I'm showing? It stops? You can? Yeah, this one's definitely a multiple, like I said. Yeah, so ideological. Want the native people, non-Europeans to be like them? Absolutely. I can't remember the language exactly, but take the best of ye breed, meaning white people, and go, I can't remember what it was, but refers to people from other countries as half devil, half child. Economic, very good, because it's an advertisement. And yeah, so I would go with those two specifically, ideological, economic. And that's what's super gross about this is like this company's selling a product based on this ideology. This one we're not going to get into because it's a little bit long, but this is super racist as well. This time against Chinese people. Yeah, all kinds of racism to be had here. This one I don't want to do much with either, but I want you to see that it's a company that is still very much around today that we've probably all taken in and or bought and enjoyed rather. Lipton tea. So British advertisement. Economic, obviously, if it's an advertisement, that's a pretty straightforward one. And even political there, national prestige. of the British company that it is. Look over here, special appointment to Her Majesty the Queen. So this is certainly a point of pride for them to be able to sell their tea elsewhere. And I think we're good. I think we've hit a wall. So exit ticket today. Finish these, answer these 3 questions. Make sure everyone answers them. And once you are done with them, Zoom, you may log off and we are good for the day. I think we've pretty much got this down. Tomorrow we'll start talking about Southeastern Asia. Next week is when we're going to get into the scramble for Africa and maybe talk about some opium wars. We'll see. Talk about China. It's only so much time. Like I said at the beginning, I would definitely answer these. There's no point in logging into this thing if you do not answer because you won't get points for it. Thank you, Declan. I forgot to mention, but like, it's the whole point of this class in general is to connect it with today. In history, that should be the only purpose really in school. But other than that, I can see a lot of people's perspective on history is like, what's the point? Which I understand. But the connection to this today is when you guys are like watching the news, watching and looking at advertisements. Hopefully you can see that a lot of these motivations haven't left. Economics, politics. Thank you, Smile. So that's my whole purpose of wanting to do this is so when you guys see images, when you see news coverage of like the United States going to certain places, economically doing certain things, that you can be like, oh, I see what they're doing here. They're using ideology, they're using political motivations, or economic is most often used today. But that's definitely the importance of this. I need to rephrase that last question. It's not what I mean. Yeah, Mason, that's a good question. I need to rephrase that. I meant like whose perspective is missing. I was going for like indigenous people's perspective. But this class and last class answered in the way that like which of the motivations were missing, which I can understand why you feel that way or why people would answer that way. But I was getting at like whose perspective was missing from this. Just talking from the point of the imperialists.
Yeah, I think I asked you this yesterday, I might have, are all four of you kind of come back 4 days next week? Yeah. What do we have on? Last day? 3?
Ronald Austin, Taylor.
Oh, so it'll be,
That might just could be.
so you potentially 7? Jeez. So 15 first period, 7 second period. It could flex up to 10.
Yeah.
Or-
But there's a-
That one's usually good, though. That would be good.
It's funny because it's the biggest class,
Yeah, I know, it is,
31 kids.
like for sure. And 2, 3.
That was like last year, right?
I'm doing this guy who deals with this. I got 2 cryptic calls from Verizon. Actually, lots of ways in that point. That's the thing. I'm doing that. So, actually, I'm going to see if I can Monday. That's why. For anyone who's also. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's not anything you need to worry about, but.
No, yeah, but
Again, I'm just trying to cover,
not
cover my
good.
butt for next week for desk, but on the same token,
It's hard to do that with.
with no leadership.
Yeah, it's like, apart from what we were just talking about, it's like, how,